Oh man, guess who we've got a message from today? Suzu, the enigmatic co-founder of the beleaguered Three Arrows Capital hedge fund, which plummeted, going into bankruptcy in the UK and liquidation in the BV Islands. What is going on? What did he say? What's going on from Celsius, Vauld Finance, and the rest of the contagion? We need an update right now. Let's get straight into it, guys. Smash up the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. As always, if you want to buy any crypto, BitGet and BYBIT are offering some amazing bonuses. Links in the description. So, Suzu, we've not heard from him for 28 plus days since we found out Three Arrows Capital was in trouble. And the chap just posted today saying, sadly, our good faith to cooperate with the liquidators was met with baiting. Hope that they did exercise good faith with respect to the Starkware token warrants. Very interesting. He posts out the email thread, which shows his lawyers, which is Advocatus Law LLP, communicating with the executive apparently over at the liquidator company. And in essence, what he's complaining about is the fact that they've not gone ahead and exercised this Starkware token warrant. Now, what is also interesting is, as you can see here, our clients, as you know, besides being former directors of the company, Three Arrows Capital, are also investors and shareholders of the company. In other words, now he's just caring for his own back. He wants his own money because if creditors don't get paid, he won't get paid. So this is kind of good news for the community, really, and the creditors of Three Arrows Capital, because the reality is he's on side. He needs to get the money back as well because he's a shareholder and investor in the company, and he's going to want his cash, which means you'll get your cash in proportion, right, if they come up with a deal. So this is an interesting update. Now, for those who aren't familiar with what's going on, there is currently an emergency hearing, which is supposed to be today on Tuesday, which let's take a quick look. Was it today? Yeah, it's said to be here on Tuesday. So let's see what happens. A court hearing is scheduled for Tuesday morning in New York. So we should get an update on what's going on with that shortly. But again, guys, this is just poor risk management from Three Arrows Capital and all of those guys involved. In fact, let's take a quick look at this thread. Shout out to DAO Maker. Really good thread, which we're going to run through right now to catch you guys up on what's happened and to understand the dynamics. So Three Arrows Capital is a hedge fund founded in 2012 by Suzu and Kyle Davies. Two classmates started the firm. They built it from 1.2 million in assets under management to very quickly getting to 10 to 18 billion. So imagine a baptism of fire where two kids just plummet to having $10 billion in assets under management. Now, I know this from my time in traditional finance. Being in charge of that much money does not come overnight in traditional finance, right? Anybody who's owning a fund with 100 million and then work their way up to 500 million, etc., etc., they've got the years, they've got the gray hairs, they know what they've been through. And even they would tell you running a fund of 500 million is extremely stressful, let alone 10 to 18 billion. Absolutely insane with very little regulation. The firm has now been ordered by the court to liquidate. Here's why this could be critical. And if we take a look, we know that in 2021, GBTC Trust was trading at a discount and allowed investors to benefit from the arbitrage for a few months of illiquidity. Three Arrows Capital bought GBTC on leverage and used GBTC as collateral to borrow stablecoins. Okay, so again, what are the common themes in all of these things? Whenever I point out the next one and the next one to fall and the next one, misallocation, poor risk management, greed, leverage, the same things we've seen from traditional finance. And I'm sitting here banging on this desk saying, hang on a second, these guys don't care for crypto. They never did. They would tell you the mission is about decentralization, and these CeFi lenders and hedge funds are the same sharks that in traditional finance. The guys building actual blockchain tech, you can see the difference between these people when they give an interview and these kind of guys like Suzu, who are just pure capitalism, traditional finance through and through. They're just looking for a quick buck, and it's no different. And the reason they all like bees to honey come across to crypto is the lack of regulation. They wouldn't have got away with this with traditional finance. You would have decades ago, but you aren't now, and that is why we're seeing the likes of Celsius, Three Arrows Capital, these kinds of failings happen on our watch in crypto. So for those who are saying, oh, we don't want regulation in crypto, yes, you do. And the regulation, the right amount, which isn't just, nilly-willy everywhere, regulate every little thing, but what's done constructively based on these failings will really help crypto grow. It really will help reduce the volatility, build trust, and help crypto grow longer term. They use the liquidity to buy many tokens. Example, they bought 10.9 million Lock Luna worth 559 million. So $500 million of Luna they bought, which then crashed to zero basically, is worth $670 by the end of it. Regulations forbid 3 Arrows Capital to have more than 30 qualified investors or manage assets of more than 180 million. They exceeded that by July 2020 and September 2020, and between November 20 and 2021, according to MAS. Okay, so you can see that's what happened. Similar to Celsius, they bought a lot of stake teeth. Again, why do people want stake teeth? Because they're greedy. Think about it. What's the rationale behind it? It's greed. You take your Ethereum, you stake it in the beacon chain. The 4% is not enough for you, so you take that, you go lock it into stake teeth on Lido because you want to do liquid staking. I don't believe in liquid staking. It's just more greed, and it's going to create the bad foundations which make things like this happen. And the contagion effect is huge, as we're seeing right now. Due to their huge size, trading firms gave discounts to 3 Arrows Capital. Guys, this is huge. This happened a lot in traditional finance. Due to their huge trading size, trading firms gave discounts to 3 Arrows Capital. In other words, when 3 Arrows Capital would knock on the door of these big trading firms, they would say they were giving them free passes to do as they wish. They misused the allowance and allowed trading firms to use their account for trades. So we've seen this with other small companies. We covered it on this channel. Other smaller trading companies were using 3 Arrows Capital's accounts as an unlicensed prime brokerage. Insane stuff going on. They falsified records to borrow more money from many lenders in the space. 3 Arrows provided treasury management services to a lot of protocols with a guaranteed 8% APR. Imagine, guys. Imagine leaving your treasury management to Suzu and Kyle Davies, who are arguably the biggest degens of all time, doing it with $10 to $18 billion of asset under management. Absolutely crazy, absolutely crazy. How some of the smartest people in the space got it wrong. There were a lot of assumptions. Supercycle, ETH merge, GBTC. No, it's not about all these small things. You can't make excuses for them. All it is that when the tide goes out, you find out who is swimming with no trunks on. And that is all we see. In a bull market, just like in traditional finance, guys, this is why it's so frustrating, because I've been there, seen it, right? When the market is good, nobody cares, because a good market covers up everybody's mistake. It's a Ponzi scheme. As long as money is flowing in and liquidity is everywhere, everybody's good. Nobody knows what's going on, right? You don't know if they're wearing swimming trunks or not. Everything looks good from the top up. We're all good. Soon as that tide goes out, liquidity goes. You can blame Terra Luna. You can say you had too much exposure to Terra Luna. But all of these companies jumping on the back of it, right? People like Celsius. Let's say we'll take an update on Celsius shortly. But also I want to cover off Vauld Finance as well, right? Vauld Finance now also struggling, right? To come and blame UST. You had other allocations in other projects. There was other bad practices. So the catalyst can be any one thing, but you can't blame that thing. You have to take a look at yourself and say, my risk management was poor. Otherwise, why would a Binance be fine? Why is an FTX okay at the moment? Because they know what they're doing, and they've been through bull and bear runs before, and they understand how difficult things get when you're 80% retraced from all-time highs. You have a couple of collapses. You have Mt. Gox. You have a few of these other things collapsing, and suddenly you've got to figure it out, right? So these new exchanges, you've got to be very, very careful with who you're dealing with. And to take a look at Vauld. Vauld at one point had currently they have $330 million in assets under management, but they have liabilities of 400 million. They've got a 70 million hole in their balance sheet. Okay, look at that, 70 million hole on their balance sheet. Nexo are apparently exploring. They've got a 60-day exclusivity period to see whether they want to purchase it. And if they don't, that could be another trouble for more customers on the Vauld network. So definitely something for us to watch out on. And again, if we take a look at this, it's a company where everything was looking so well, right? The year 2020-22 started really well for Vauld, a Singapore domiciled crypto exchange. It had raised 27 million in a Series A. Its founders have made it into the Forbes Asia 30 under 30, and everything unraveled rapidly. Yeah. It doesn't unravel, it unravels rapidly, but it's years of mistakes, of bad practices, of taking shortcuts, of doing the wrong thing. These founders and these CEOs who are running these companies, they were not surprised that this happens. They know the shortcuts they were taking to get rich quick, right? And it's the same old thing. Whether we're retail investors, normal people like you and I, you cannot take shortcuts. You need to do things the right way. But unfortunately, people don't want to. They want to do things overnight. They want to go from, like 3 Arrows Capital, they want to go from 10 million to doing 10 billion in assets under management overnight without building the infrastructure, without building the sustainability. Now let's give some positive news. I've been ranting for too long, and it's Celsius. Celsius have started to do a little bit of restructuring. We've been covering this off. They've done a bit more. So now what's happened is they've managed to reclaim 410 million of staked ETH, which they left as collateral. So they've managed to get that back. They've been paying a bunch of debt, and now they're left with about 59 million left. Okay, so they've got 59 million left. There's a breakdown of this somewhere. There you go, 59 million left. They've got 8.5 million on Aave. They've got 50 million left on Compound, and their collateral, if they can pay off this 59 million here, they will get 28 million from Aave back in collateral and 200 million roughly from Compound. So they've got another 227 million left to come, which could help. But the reality is, we need to find out what happens. It's all well and good them paying off their debt and getting their collateral back, but they would have done the math. And there would not be all this smoke without any issue. If they knew that once they got all this collateral back, everything's going to be okay, there wouldn't be this much drama. So clearly, even when they get all this collateral back, there is an outstanding amount. But maybe with their advisors, I believe they were being advised by Citigroup, one of the big investment banks as well. Maybe their advisor said, just go, get your money off the DeFi platforms, get your collateral back, and let's see what the hole is. And then if they need to give Celsius holders a 20%, 30% haircut, then perhaps they're going to do that at that stage. So there you have it, guys. A quick update on the many beleaguered exchanges out there. The advice to all of you guys remains the same. Go through your portfolio and look at where your money is. Any substantial bits of money, go and do an audit of where it's sitting. If you don't understand those platforms, if you don't understand what they do, if you don't understand what they're doing with your money, if you don't understand what stake ETH is, if you don't understand what a lending platform is doing with your money, if you didn't understand what Anchor Protocol was doing at the time, or it looked too good to be true, you need to get it out. In this bear market, chasing 3-4% yield, trust me, it's not worth it when you can risk 100% of your capital could go overnight. You could wake up one morning and the exchange says no more withdrawals, or then this company has gone bust, or that company has gone bust. And for the sake of you chasing 4% yield on some exchange, it just wouldn't be worth it. You've come through all of this bear market to date. You've retraced 80% from all-time highs. You just want to get through this bear market with your tokens in your hand. That's the asset you hold right now. Don't get attracted by these crazy yields on if you on these crazy centralized finance lending platforms. As you've seen, it's not worth it. And trust me, there's going to be a bit more smoke to go. If Bitcoin's going to go fall towards 15,000, inflation doesn't continue to improve, if inflation doesn't look like it wants to improve tomorrow, if we see earnings forecasts start to come in weaker, we're going to see equities fall, we're going to see Bitcoin continue to fall, and guess what, that's going to create more liquidity issues for these companies, many of which will probably be struggling in the background but have yet to file their bankruptcy. So stay tuned, guys. Be very, very careful. I'll continue to update as and when there are any updates. Smash up the like button, don't forget to subscribe, do check out BYBIT and BitGet. Links are in the description to those exchanges. Go watch this video here, and I'll see you in the next one.